going on? It's your King Life. It's about time EX Turk with another Final Fantasy. Fifth, well, I wouldn't say 15 because this is going to affect everything universally, and, well, I got a special theory right here, and this had me thinking about the Star Scourge. Now, the Star Scourge only happened in the world of Eos. So, could this work in other Final Fantasy universes? Now, there's a half no and half yes. And I want to actually talk about the yes. But the no is not in particular universes. Because Arden would have to be a resident of that universe in the first place. The only thing that can make sense of this is this happens in Dissidia. And no offense, but it couldn't happen in the previous Dissidias on the fact that... Sorry, I gotta put the music on. On the fact that it could happen in the previous Dissidias based off of one thing, and that one thing is Chaos limited all the villains' powers. As you can see, Kefka couldn't turn to his angel form, Sephiroth couldn't turn to Safer Sephiroth. But the only way this could happen in Dissidia Arcade is if Spiritus was so powerful he didn't feel threatened by any of the villains, so he pretty much did not put a limiter on what the Final Fantasy villains could do in Dissidia. Thus, or if Arden does become one of the villains in Final Fantasy Dissidia Arcade, this could start out where Arden summons the Star Scourge, and after the heroes win a few battles, the Star Scourge activates its full form. And what if its full form could be Spiritus? Now we know Spiritus is stronger than Chaos. And I mean any incarnation of Chaos. That's all we know about Spiritus. Is Spiritus has a lot more power than Chaos did. Not to say Chaos wasn't strong. In fact, he was a hard final boss on Duodecim. You know, especially when he turns to Pharaoh Chaos. He was nearly impossible to beat. But the reason why I want to talk about the Star Scourge and why it could affect other characters. Now, it can affect any incarnation of Chaos because they're demon class characters. It can affect X-Death because he's a demon class character. It can affect Diablos because he's a demon class character, meaning that they get partial immortality. Now, if the Chaos in Final Fantasy VII, the only way Vincent can have that full immortality, pretty much what it had to be is if he stayed in Chaos form. Because if he's in his base form, then he'd be in his human form, and the Star Scourge wouldn't affect that. I mean, it would give him a little bit of power. Like it did power boost, just like it is when he retained his human form to fight Vice in Chaos form, but in human form. But he would have to power up, he'd have to power up using Chaos's power in the human form, like he did with Vice to accumulate, retain his human form while fighting with Chaos's powers. But the Vince Valentine Chaos, in order for him to have the full immortality of the Star Scourge, this would have to be taking place in Dissidia, like I said, and Vincent would have to be a character in Dissidia, and it could make sense because Chaos is no longer around. Chaos has been completely defeated and destroyed. That's why we got new god and goddesses, because Chaos and Cosmos are dead. You know, now it's Materia versus Spiritus. Now, the only problem with Vincent turning into Chaos, if Arden controls the Star Scourge, and this is before Spiritus awakened from the Star Scourge slumber. Like, part of the Star Scourge could be, the real true Star Scourge could be the form where Spiritus comes out. Because, I mean, it could be possible that Aether could travel to other dimensions because, well, the Astrals can do that. Summons have the power, have more capabilities than any human. So, nonetheless, the true Star Scourge could be the one that wakens Spiritus from his slumber. So if Arden took control of the Star Scourge, if he's a villain in Dissidia Arcade, and Vincent Valentine becomes one of the heroes, Arden could be doing something to push Vincent Valentine's buttons, or talk about, how he failed to save Lucretia because he'd gather information on the heroes. And then Vincent would get mad and be on the side of Spiritus because he'd be under the control of the Star Scourge. The only thing about the Star Scourge is the demon class characters would be under Arden's control. Because even though Idolus really didn't care for Arden that much, Idolus was still somewhat under the control of Arden. That's why he came back to fight you after you defeat Ravis. And remember, since Ravis was now a demon because of Ontaria, Arden had control over Ontaria. That's why Ravis asked Noctis to slay him. Now, what does this mean? This means if Vincent turned into his Chaos form, he'd be under the control of Star Scourge. X-Death would be under the control of the Star Scourge. Diablos would be under the control of Star Scourge. Because it controls because not only it gives him immortality, but Arden takes control of it. Now, of course, like I said, I don't think that's going to be the story, but if somehow they made it creative where Spiritus is in his slumber. Now, remember, Chaos was already out and about. And what it is that Chaos pretty much went into a multiverse tournament, and that was the war in Dissidia, from the Final Fantasy 1 universe, because Chaos could do that. But we're not talking about Chaos. Now, what can happen for the story mode, like I said, they fight Arden. They fight all the villains like they did before, and even the demon class villains as well. Now, this could be an opportunity where Sephiroth does not like the idea of Arden taking over the operation, so maybe Sephiroth would join up with Cloud, and I know this will never happen, really, and they would team up against Arden. But after they beat Arden, Arden laughs. Arden laughs and then goes like, "You woke in the full power of the Star Scourge," and this is only the Dissidia verse. This is not the Final Fantasy 15 verse. Okay. So, this will awaken Spiritus, the true king of the Star Scourge. And once this awakens Spiritus, then the war with Spiritus and Materia comes to pass. Of course, Spiritus will bring back Arden on the fact that Arden was a faithful servant to him. Was a faithful servant to him in the Dissidia verse. Of course, not the Final Fantasy 15 verse. They're two different things. And then all the villains will come back, and then Materia will have to gather all the heroes. This time, Vincent Valentine gets defeated by Cloud. So, pretty much he gets out of his Chaos form, brought back on Materia's side as just regular Vincent Valentine. So he loses his Chaos powers, but gains, still has his other abilities. Such as his high magic usage and his guns and stuff like that. But he loses transformation states just to prevent Arden from taking control of Vincent. So Vincent is brought back with the good guys. But X-Death and, Diablos, well, I don't think Diablos is going to be in arcade, but you never know. Let's just say he is for the sake of this theory. Because I said this is the only way the Star Scourge could take place in other Final Fantasy worlds is through Dissidia. So, yes, Vincent will lose his power of transformations, be on Materia's side, so he will fight with Cloud. Of course, Sephiroth would terminate the alliance with Cloud first, because he thought he took care of Arden, but then Sephiroth will join up with Spiritus because he gets along with Spiritus a lot more than he does with Arden. Because I predict that Sephiroth and Arden are going to be partners, and they're going to butt heads with each other constantly, because Arden is a snake, and, well, nobody likes Arden, not even the Emperor Idolus. The only reason that Emperor Idolus was under the control of Arden, even after his defeat, is because the Star Scourge. But nonetheless, I would have to say that it could happen, but only in the Dissidia verse. only in the Dissidia verse this could realistically happen. So, what could that mean? It could be the Star Scourge could infect him. Now, like I said, Vincent will lose his powers and end up being his normal Vincent, so he can use his guns at high magic usage, and that's about it. And it's only to, put the safety on of being controlled by the Star Scourge. So, nonetheless, it can only be possible. I'm gonna say this again. It can only be realistically and realized, and possibly realistically happen if it was in Dissidia. Whether it's a stronger Star Scourge by Spiritus, or it's the basic Star Scourge from Arden to awaken Spiritus. Either way, that's the only way it could happen in other universes. Only way, because Dissidia is a multiverse. It has all the tropes from the original games where the characters come from, and all the lore from there, and put it into one thing. Because one thing about fighting games are subjective. Think of Injustice, think of Mortal Kombat. You can make any story with any fighting game and still make it make sense because, well, the whole premise is to fight. And Dissidia is pretty much a never-ending war between the Final Fantasy heroes and the Final Fantasy villains. Okay? So, that's pretty much what the whole premise is. So, it could happen in the Dissidia-verse. And Arden could be defeated, and then Arden will laugh, say, ha ha ha, now you unleash the true power of the Star Scourge. And then that's when Spiritus will come out, and then the war between Materia and Spiritus begins. And this will be the final battle for humanity. So this will probably be the finisher for all the Final Fantasy villains, if they stay on that side, of course. Knowing Sephiroth and Kefka and, Kuja, they're going to stay on that side, so they're pretty much going to get destroyed at the end. But it could also be possible that when Spiritus awakens up from his slumber, he can actually turn all the villains into demon class. So, pretty much Sephiroth and Kefka and Kuja pretty much gets 10 times eviler and stronger. But they'd be under the control of Spiritus. And that'd be the only way, like I said, that'd be the only way Sephiroth would stay on the leash. Because he'd be turned into a demon because of Spiritus. And like I said, this would make it possible for them to remove limiters so they can use all their powers. So Sephiroth could turn into a safer mode. Kefka could turn to that fallen angel mode. It could be anything possible. Arden could use the power of the Star Scourge. Especially if Spiritus uses the power of the Star Scourge, Arden could have some control of it because Arden is familiar with the power of the Star Scourge. Even though this is the more advanced and powerful Star Scourge that pretty much is going to take a whole war to beat. The only way this could be possible is if it's in the Dissidia-verse. If Dissidia is the one holding the power of the Scourge. If Spiritus was... No, so sorry. If Spiritus... I can't talk today. If Spiritus is holding the power of the Scourge. And that would make control of the villains, and since he won't be afraid of the villains because he'll have complete control because they'll be reborn as demons, Spiritus will pretty much not put a limiter like Chaos did. So this will be a harder fought battle than it was in the original Dissidious. So the answer is yes, the Star Scourge can happen, but only in the Dissidia-verse. So may the Crystal Beauty share, like, subscribe, tell me what you think about this theory. May the Crystal be with you.